Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Holy smokes. Oh my goodness. Hello and welcome everybody to another live stream. Excuse the disaster of last minute changes. Come on. Remote's dying. All kinds of fun things going on here. So, good to have you guys. Let me know how I sound. I am, for the first time, or really the second time, trying to use this shotgun microphone that I normally use for my videos, but in the live stream. So if it sounds terrible, let me know, and I will go ahead and switch back to the old trusty, desk microphone. Hopefully it's not too bad. Let me drop that levels down maybe a smidge. Test 1, 2. Something like that. Okay, so what's going on? Good to see everybody. Sorry for the hiccups there. Lots of people already in the chat, including Brandon, Carson. Dive into it with James. Good to see all of you. Oh my goodness, everyone's here. Mr. Camera Junkie, or at least the regulars, Gitfo, and Jason Morris. What's going on, Jason? Everyone should check out his channel. Sam Holland, he's a lovely fellow that I just met recently. Check out his channel, and he's been a regular here as well. What else we got here? Eric and others. So welcome everybody back to another live stream. This is production helpline number 31. 31 of these, which is kind of fun. So the way we're gonna roll is, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat and we'll just dive straight in. Let's see, is everyone okay with levels? Levels. Hopefully it doesn't sound terrible. I know there's about a minute delay from me talking to you actually seeing it on your end. But yeah. Oh, Ryan, what's going on, Ryan? Good to see you, boss. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. And yeah, pretty wild. Hope you all are having a wonderful last month of the year. I can't believe it's already just about time to switch over to 2023. All right, I'm not seeing any talk on that says looking good. Okay. All right, we'll go with that. I think we might be okay for once. Good. We got a question from Carlson. Actually, before we dive in, I just want to do one plug and then I'm out. So here is the deal. New stuff available over on Gear Focus. The link is in the description. The first thing I want to mention is we now have stock for the Go lock. So if you've been interested in this, I know they went out of stock pretty quick. We got a new batch in. So for those of you, yeah, that's working. Okay, good. For who wanted, we got a new stock big batch of black units. So if you want to check those out, if you don't know what that is, you can check out the channel. I've done a video on this little DIY that you can purchase from us. The next thing, the SM7B microphone kits, they are back in stock. We now have black units again and new white units, which is kind of fun. So if you want to learn more about those, all that stuff is in the description, including just a bunch of used gear that we are selling. Let's see, where is that tab? Somewhere in here. I've lost it apparently, but we are selling a GH6, A7S, bunch of lenses, bunch of lights. So you can check out all that stuff down in the description. And after this stream, I'm headed over for the last stream of the year over at the C47. We're doing another episode of Cameron Flask. We're going to talk about our favorite gear of the year. And I will grab a link for you guys and drop it down in the description. But yeah, I've got the microphones right here. So there's the white and the black. And yeah, the kits are available. And normally I use them for the stream, hilariously, as I'm talking about this. I'm using my shotgun microphone. But that's the deal with all of that. And for those who have purchased and supported, you know, the channel through that stuff, thank you guys. All right, let's get into some questions, shall we? Where was that first one? Actually, let me go ahead and before I forget. Man, I'm just not prepared today, am I? Let's go to YouTube, the C47. And we're gonna go to videos. Oh boy, live. There we go. Oh, I can't believe I'm not prepared. It's one of those. Of course, I can't seem to find the thing. I'm looking for. Almost there. Okay, so I'm gonna drop a link in the chat. We'll do this again at the end. That's where I'm gonna be after this stream. So we're gonna go for probably 40 minutes or so. Okay, question time. And I'm just gonna jump right in. If I miss your question, go ahead and repost it. My video card on iMac 11 is going out. What should I buy? I still have access to my older hard drives, including FireWire 400. Whoa, so if we're talking 400, man, iMac 11. It's going out. I'd probably, I mean, you could pick up used gear to keep working with your FireWire stuff, but I would probably move on to some of the new stuff from Apple because it's bonkers fast. I mean, my Intel MacBook is screaming over here, so it'd be nice to switch to that newer stuff. Question, this is from Ed. Let's put that up. I am setting up a new Mac Mini amateur studio in a 3 meter by 4 meter room. I do a bit of light green screen, perhaps is what you meant, videos. What is the best way to avoid the green fuzzy haze that can occur when color keying layer? So for you in that small room, the tricky thing is going to be spill. So you need to figure out a way to control that light. Definitely want yourself as far away from that green background as possible. And if you might need to bring in a bunch of black blankets on your walls. So if you imagine there's a green screen behind me, you can see that wall right there. I would probably want to black that out, you know, out of frame, of course, so that there's not just a bunch of green spilling across the side of my face. You can even see there's a little bit of light hitting this side from the background. So that's what I would recommend is you're gonna have to get lots of negative fill, black blankets or sheets, and that's probably your best bet. Merry Christmas, everybody. Are XLR pencil mics better for indoor? Some would say yes. I would say probably, because people way smarter than me have said yes. But I see no issue with using a shotgun microphone if you have one. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that. I use a MKH416 from Sennheiser and indoors, and unlike that microphone. But I know a lot of people like condensers. The main thing for me is I prefer to pay attention to the pickup pattern, not necessarily the style of microphone. So, you know, a pencil condenser is often a cardioid, which is going to pick up anything in front of it. But maybe you have a vent off to one side and you want a little more narrow pickup pattern. So all things to consider. All right, great question. Great. Oh my gosh, I like to make stuff. What is going on, Bob? I love your channel, man. If we haven't talked in the past, and I don't think we have, but everyone should check out I Like to Make Stuff. Pretty much, I would say, easily slips into my top 3, top 5 YouTube channels. So good to see you, Bob. Thanks for hanging out, man. Let's see. Sorry, so we talked about the pencil condensers. What else we got? OCT5 monitor for my Red Scarlet, but tried using it with HDMI. There's no signal. Do you need an adapter? I don't think so, Kevin. That should work. You might need to check the monitors or the camera's input and output settings. Try different cables. Make sure it works with other cameras or computers if possible. JF, we're not shipping internationally yet, but hopefully that'll come in the future. I want to make a lens review on the Laowa 100mm. I was wondering what details order I should structure the video. Well, Finn, that's going to depend completely on your style. You could go very chronological. I mean, a typical review process for me at least, and I think a lot of people, kind of goes, you know, here's the lens, here's kind of the main highlights. Like the way I like to write videos is in the intro, I hit it all. Let everyone know what they're about to expect. And then I go into detail through everything. And at the end, I kind of hit all the points again. Kind of makes sense, right? You know, start with the external, you know, the build quality, work your way through the specs, tests, and then conclusion and your thoughts. But you can really do anything, right? Thoughts on the Deity Pocket Wireless versus Rode Go. So I haven't checked out the Deity one. So far, though, after playing with some, you know, Chinese models and even DJI's wireless, I still prefer the Rodes for several reasons. But the main one is reliability, ruggedness, and even though they're super sensitive and loud and that bugs a lot of people, I'd way rather have that than what I found with the DJI, which is they're too soft unless you have it right here in the perfect position. So I love the you know, the Goes. And of course, you know, I now have a cool little locking mechanism for them. So I love them even more. What's the best, cheapest camera you can use as a webcam for your desk setup video? So I'm gonna probably say the Canon EOS M50, original, or preferably probably the Mark II. That's probably the cheapest, or the let's see, Lumix G7. I don't know what that goes for these days. Those are all good options. You can also check out a video I did years ago, cameras under $300. Hopefully those are still under $300, but $300. But I think some of those may have had a clean HDMI out as well. Another thing you can do actually, and that's great for this, is if you don't care about using it for anything other than what I'm doing right now, kind of a live streaming desk setup, go and search eBay for broken screen cameras. You know, you might find a camera where the screen is completely just doesn't work, but you don't care about that because you're going to use HDMI. So that could be a fantastic way to save some serious money and buy a camera that otherwise isn't going to get sold. All right. Karat, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name there. You've helped me so much with setting up my YouTube studio, and I just want to say thank you. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate the kind words. That means a lot. Best camera right now under or around the, what's going on here? There we go. Around the $2,500 range. Interesting question. I'm going to go with this camera, which is the Sony A7 IV. Full frame. As long as you're not panning quickly or something's going in front of your lens very quickly because the rolling shutter isn't very good, this is my favorite camera right now for the money. You know, I think you can buy them used for around $2,000 even, so if you want to save some money. Then you could buy this lens used, which is the Tamron 28-75, and that's a killer combination. So I just got my second one used, and really, really digging that camera. Otherwise, the FX30, which just came out, and we might see some more cameras here in the new year. So just gotta kind of wait and see what comes out. But right now, I'm gonna go with A7 IV. Parker, what's up, Parker? Greg Shepard, hello. I've been looking and searching for your teleprompter on steroids display. I've purchased all the items you mentioned. I've kept watch for this example that you mentioned. Are you talking about the 8-inch screen? I know that's been hard to find. The one I'm using right now is actually a 12-inch Lilliput screen. I think that's what you mean, Greg. And in which case, you just got to keep searching and see if that Lilliput, I think it's the A8, comes back. Could you please talk us through the process you use when exposing for S-Log3? Do you go with exposing to the right or ETTR for your own efforts, or do you stick with the standard baseline? So I will be covering this in a future video. Kind of, I expose and grade the same no matter the camera I use. Not to plug my own stuff, but I use my LUTs because I have overcompensated or exposure shifts built into my LUTs. So almost all of the time, what I end up doing is on cameras like the FX30, which can, you know, you can put LUTs on it. I have a false color LUT in the camera, and I'm going to be updating the LUT pack to include that. There's already one there, but I'm going to tweak, the naming slightly. But I can use that, and I overexpose. Most of the time, if I don't want to fuss with zebras and false color, I will actually just turn on my 2-stop LUT, which takes, it adds a 709 LUT, but it also drops the exposure by 2 stops. That allows me to overexpose in camera, but I can see exactly what it's going to look like in post because I already am compensating for that exposure using the LUT, if that makes sense. So if you have a camera that doesn't accept LUTs like the A7 IV, you can get an external monitor or use your phone, throw the LUT on there. Again, I just go with the 2-stop, so I'm maximizing my overexposure, and that almost always works best for me. And I pull everything down in post, and again, I'll talk about that in a future video. Should be out in January, and that's my deal. Works great, reduces noise, and same process across all different cameras. How to sync audio and video, search YouTube. There's tons of great tutorials depending on the software you're using. Have you played with shooting any pro VR gear? No, I have not. Will, but that's probably where things are going. M1 minis are crazy good for the price. There you go. Apple question, folks. Ben's Watch Club. What's up, Ben? Purchased the FX3 for video. What picture profile should I use for wristwatch videography? If you want no fuss, go with picture profiles off or S Cinetone. If you want to go whole hog with LUTs and doing your own grades, which again you can copy and paste once you kind of get things going on and figured out there. I like S-Log3 with sgamut3.cine for the color mode. That was incredibly nerdy sounding, but that's my deal. Any recommendations for audio recorders? I've been looking for Zoom F3 or Sound Devices Mix Pre 3 2 series. If you can afford it, Mix Pre 3 2, you're going to buy that and never need to buy a recorder again. That's like a lifelong piece of equipment. The Zoom stuff is a little more cheap and, plasticky, but they're also very good. But again, if you can afford it, man, you're not going to be disappointed. H8 or Tascam X8. I've used the H8. Actually, I'm selling one on my Gear Focus, I think. But great device. Tascam X8 I've not tried. What's up, Bart? Oy. Hope you, oh geez. Well, I hope you make it through, man. Yikes. That's no fun. Good to see you, though. And Godspeed with the tornadoes. Yeesh. Still lusting over the overhead setup tutorial. Yep, I need to get to that. I might kind of abandon using that gear since the R7, now that the FX30 is out. But yes, I will get to that before long. All right. Get to my question. What's up, Brandon? Good to see you, boss. C-Log on the C70, EOS R, and R5C. Are they the same, or should I expect differences? So if you're using the same log profile, like C-Log 3 as an example, or C-Log 2, across all the cameras, they're going to be pretty similar. There will always be little differences between them. For example, the EOS R and the C70 are going to be softer, whereas the R5C is probably going to be very sharp in comparison, and there might be slight luminance differences. I know the C70 has incredible dynamic range, so that's just going to look different than the other two, and there might be little differences in like red shade of skin and whatnot, so you're probably going to have to slightly tweak each of them, but that's, yeah, there's going to be slight differences, but you should be able to. I would definitely recommend shooting the same across all of them. Because I believe the R might not have C-Log 2, though. But yeah, do some tests, and you can use the LUTs to convert them. So you could convert C-Log 3 to C-Log 2, then apply the same LUT across all the C-Log 2, if that makes sense. But you want to unify as much as possible. And of course, if you can, do tests. Where do I ask the questions? Right where you ask that question. Question, if recording and portability are irrelevant, would you put $300 toward a computer monitor or camera monitor to monitor live camera HDMI feed? Recording and portability, I'm going to go with a big monitor. Yeah, I love big monitor. I've got a 27-inch off camera here, and it's really, really nice. So if you're just going to be in a studio environment, definitely get something big. So go for the live sound recordings. Okay, so you're doing live sound. Oh, Tascam 8 does 32-bit. Woo! Well, then go with that. That sounds great. What color temperature do you set your camera to when you're working with multiple lights varying color temperatures? That's a great question. Step one is going, in my opinion, let's do this right now. Let me turn on some mixed color temperatures. There we go. So I just turned on a bunch of warmer lights, and what I would recommend if I was doing this is find the primary light source and start by matching that. So in my case, it's kind of tough because I have this warmer light up here, a tube light, and then I've got my main key light. For the most part, especially if you're filming an interview, let's say I'm sitting over here, and it's something like this. I'm being interviewed by you. If I were you, I would match this key light and let this one just go warm. If it's too insane, you can split the difference, but that's gonna make this look cool, that look warm. And that is a look that often you'll see in movies or in music videos. But the main thing you wanna pay attention to is what's the primary light source in the space. So I'll go ahead and turn these back off. A common scenario is if you're indoors with lights on the ceiling and then there's big windows. If the windows are more powerful, match those. If the lights overhead are more powerful, match those. And if you're filming people, try to get their main light source to be primarily what's hitting their face. So I wouldn't have one window here and a big light that's orange here. Try to rotate them so that there's one primary color and set it for that. Unfortunately, that's kind of your best bet, but that's the methodology I would use when in that kind of scenario. Easiest way to make smartphone footage look better, probably use some kind of app where you can lock in your settings so exposure isn't changing, and lean into it. If you know you're not going to have shallow depth of field where things are out of focus, film with just a blank wall. You know, like for me, I would get closer to that wall and just lean into it. I know I'm not going to blow it out or get it out of focus, so I'm just going to have a gray background or a simple light hitting it. Yeah, just lean into it, know what you're getting into, and use lots of B-roll to cover it up if it looks bad. And use good audio. Record externally or use a microphone. It's going to help a lot. Okay, Ed. What's up, Ed? Awesome getting your advice. The sound dampening material I'm using will black out the walls. Hopefully will do the trick. Yes, that's fantastic. Two birds, one stone. Love it. Yes, Ben, correct. All right, we've got that question. Thoughts on the XH2S? Haven't really shot on it. I'm thinking about renting, actually, a couple of cameras and doing a video covering every single camera when it comes to color, but that doesn't really cover each camera in whole. I know a lot of people like the camera. It seems like autofocus is which is kind of a bummer for me, but for some it might not be an issue at all. What's up, Jay Brucifer? What's going on, dude? Thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you're well as well. All right. Oh, people are talking about some other stuff there. Is S-Log3 really the best way to record? Would you recommend upgrading to RAW with Atem as format? So my deal with ProRes RAW using something like an Atem recorder is, while there's a lot more color information, you are now skipping the processor built into the camera. So this camera here, let's say I'm filming ProRes RAW, you're essentially going to completely skip all the stuff that your camera does when you record internally. That includes noise reduction, vignetting compensation, all kinds of image processing is going on every time you hit record and you record to an SD card in the camera. All of that goes out the window when you record externally. So when you pull that footage into post, if you compare it directly, and I recommend everyone do this if you have the gear, compare them directly and you're going to find that the RAW, while super rich and easy to change settings, you're going to have a ton more noise and potentially some lens artifacts, because again, all these cameras are talking to their lenses and doing things to your image for the better. So I have found that if you expose correctly within reason and shoot log, you're way better off recording internally. Small file sizes, less noise, less headache in post. So that's how I roll. But if you're filming a film or something where you're gonna have a big budget for post and a ton of storage space and time to work on that stuff, then RAW can be a good way to go. So that's my kind of beef. And, you know, save some money. I'd much rather just run out with this than get a recorder and a battery for the recorder and then have to futz around with all that stuff and the noise and the heat and all of it. All right, what else we got here? Yes and no chill. Search Google and YouTube. You'll find information on that. But I believe yes-ish. You can work with Blackmagic RAW files in there. Chris, hey, you got the A6400 and FX30, which I use for unboxing at 2 different angles. Always PITA to copy footage from cards to PC. Do you have any streamlining tips? Somehow hook up both to a PC. So you could have both on separate capture cards and record them. Probably, I mean, another way you could go, the issue with that is if something happens with your software, you're done. The file gets corrupted and things like that can happen. Another way you could go that would make things faster is run HDMI cables to near your computer and use 2 video recorders to SSDs and a dock nearby or something like that. That way you can quickly just not have to go up to the camera and pull the card out. But that's probably what I would recommend. That way you have a safety. Video recorders are super rock solid, so I'd probably go that method. But by all means, if you've got the budget and a PC that can handle it, try some capture cards. Blackmagic makes some great cards that you could slap into your PC and try going that method. But I hear you. I wish someone would make, wouldn't that be great? If someone made a little cube that connected via Thunderbolt or USB 4 to your machine. You had maybe 2 slots for SSDs and you could plug in and record that way. Now, there is another great option, which would be the Atem Mini from Blackmagic. The problem is that only records in 1080p and the bitrate is really slow. But if you don't care about quality, that could be a great way to go as well. So using the Blackmagic Atem Mini Pro ISO to record all your camera angles to an SSD. So those are some options. Andrew Robinson, $20 super chat. He says, if you don't know or can disclose, first of all, Andrew's a great dude. Everyone should check out his channel. Amazing hi-fi, theater, home audio, speaker reviews. Awesome dude. All right, question. If you can't, oh my goodness, here we go. If you know or can disclose, being that they have a partnership, how interchangeable are Lumix and Leica brands, specifically the S1 versus SL2S, for example? Their JPEG processing differs from video. Or their JPEG processing differs, but video. So I have not messed with the Leica stuff. It all looks great, but if I was thinking about a camera for video, I would definitely go Lumix. So when it comes to interchangeable, so you're thinking about maybe the 2 different cameras? Yeah, unfortunately, I've really not messed with Leica stuff. It's always been way too much money for what you're getting as a video guy. Now, if you're a stills photographer, that's a little different. But yeah, if you're looking for something, I mean, the S1 is a fantastic hybrid camera if you're into both photos and video. So I don't know if that really answers your question. I'm sorry, Andrew. But for video, I'm going to say they're fairly different. We can look up, actually, if they have a different log profile, because that would be my main thing. I know you shoot incredibly high-quality video, so I'm guessing you're shooting log. And for those who are Leica shooters, you can let me know. SL2 log profile. Yeah, I think it's like LLUT or something like that, right? Yeah, they use L-log, so it's probably going to look fairly different, and you're going to have to mess around a lot with some conversion LUTs or something to get them to look the same. So I would probably stick with Lumix gear, and the nice thing about that is V-Log across all their cameras is super duper consistent, unless you're dealing with the Micro Four Thirds stuff, but it looks like you're more of a full frame APS-C type of guy, right? Okay, thank you for the donation, and please follow up if you have more information or more questions on that. Gitfo, if you don't already have a shotgun mic, a pencil mic, we talked about that goes with the other stuff we talked about earlier. Cool. Do you recommend the Ronin 4D for solo shooters? Do you still have used yours? So I never got a keeper. I mean, I don't do keepers, if you will. So I had a loaner for a couple weeks, and no, I don't have it. No, I didn't buy one. And for solo shooters, I mean, if you film cars and are running around and need tons of stabilization all of the time, yes. Otherwise, that camera is really not, you know, your main camera type of thing. But yeah, you know, you could rent that thing out probably. Andrew Moon, I have the DD Pocket Wireless. They're not bad. Bought them before the Rodecaster Pro. If I had to buy them again, I'd probably go with the Rode Go. Interesting. Thanks for your information there. Josh Dawson, what's up? Yep, no problem, man. Another super chat from Okera, $4.99. He says, can you give a quick primer on microphones under clothing? Actually, the best, and you know, thank you for the donation, first of all. The best video I'd probably check out is, I think Deity actually did a video where they go in depth, all the little materials you can use and the best ways to figure that stuff out. But in short, tape, and you want to isolate the microphone from skin or hair, human hair, and the shirt. So for me, I have found Rode makes these little silicone, you know, things that you stick the microphone into, have it just protruding through the silicone. You just tape that to someone's skin or their shirt, and that helps isolate from, you know, hearing all that noise as people's clothing moves. And then just using tape. I like medical tape. I have several rolls of that stuff to like tape the cords down to clothing or skin. And don't be afraid to just tape directly to skin. If you're just micing yourself up, that's a fantastic way to go and not attach it to the shirt at all. And of course, if you, we'll use you're hiding under clothing. So I was going to say the best way is just to clip it to the shirt. It looks ugly, but it's going to sound the best because you don't have to worry about ruffle. All right, what do we got for time? We're doing good. We're doing good. Abraham, what is the best hair light in your opinion? Bang for buck. Tube light or softbox? Hard point diffused with scrim? Question mark. So, best bang for buck. I mean, it depends on what you're going for. I like softer lights. So bang for buck, you're probably going to do better using some more affordable. I mean, a tube would work too. The thing I don't like about tubes is it's going to spill everywhere because it's a long tube, so it's going to be hard to focus that. So probably, you know, I don't know, a 2x2 softbox would be pretty affordable, or a smaller tube, but you'd want to get it pretty close. And again, tubes, what's tricky with them is they're soft in one axis. So if I put a tube light just above me out of frame, actually I've got one right here. I think the battery's dead, but if I have this tube right here, from this direction, it's going to be soft. There's going to be nice fall off if I put it off to one side. Nice fall off this way. But this way, there's not going to be nice fall off. Same if you rotate it like this. Nice fall off from top to bottom on my face, but not this way. So it's kind of tricky, but that's the deal with tubes, is they're sort of soft, depending on how you have them positioned. So tubes are easy because you could just throw a spigot on this and just, it's super easy to rig up, right? Just something like that. Now, if you're direct, it also depends on what angles you want. If you're just right behind somebody, 100% a tube. So if you just want a nice kiss of light across the top of the hair, let's say I had hair, getting a 4-foot tube and booming it over your subject and just out of frame, 100% a great way to go. Super easy to rig up. But if you want something more from one side, then you're starting to get into all those considerations. But yeah, again, sorry, I should have led with that. Depending on how you want your hair light, if it's just a basic one directly behind your subject, tubes, super duper easy to rig up. All right, what else? Mark Bauer, love that last name, for reasons that probably make sense to everyone. Hey, I find no matter the lighting setup, I always get shadows in my eyes because of the glasses, dark circles. Any tips? Bigger light source or bring it closer? So, let's see. I'm going to get weird here and bring my face in. You probably don't see any shadow on my face with my glasses. Let's see. How would I get a shadow? Yeah, because it's too big and too soft. So when you get a harsher light, that's where you're going to run into all that stuff. Let me grab a smaller light real quick. And I'll fire this guy up. This is just a little Aperture MC. So it looks awful right now, but now you're able to see, maybe. There, yeah, you can see the shadow right here with my glasses. And that's because it's a harder, smaller source. And now a lot of people would look at this and say, hey, that's a soft light because it has this diffuser on it. But the softness of a light is partially material, but the big thing is going to be size. So the larger your source, the more it's going to wrap around things. So that's why you're not seeing shadow, is there's so much light hitting different angles to hide those shadows. So get a larger source and or bring it closer to you. That should handle and deal with your issues with the glasses. Okay, Alan, what would you want to see from Blackmagic that would pique your interest in reviewing their products? Kind of linked, what would your dream camera be? Okay, so great question. For me personally, and this isn't everyone, and I have no problem with Blackmagic and what they're doing, would be good autofocus. I know it's not for everyone, but it's just such a great tool to have in your arsenal, and better ergonomics. Those cameras are just not for me when it comes to rigging those things up. So things like good battery life, yada yada. Dream camera, I'm gonna say if you took this camera body, the Sony FX3 or FX30, this kind of form factor, made it a hair more beefy and added ND. So that's the form factor I'm going for. So kind of mirrorless-y, small cinema camera. But I want a 6 to 7K camera, not final record resolution, but like this camera's native resolution, and lots of good oversampling. That's why I love the A7 IV, is it oversamples from 7K down to 4K, super sharp images. You can punch in and animate and do all kinds of wild stuff, no problem at all. But I want good rolling shutter, the lack of rolling shutter. The final icing, the cherry on top, would be built-in NDs, like the Blackmagic 6K Pro. That would be my ideal camera. So FX3 style body, built-in ND, thick boy sensor, huge resolution, and it records 4K. I don't care about recording 8K or anything like that. That would be just chef's kiss for me, and I'd be happy and, you know, stop making videos on YouTube because there's no reason anymore. Just joking. Please keep watching. Just joking. All right, so great question. Really, really good question. Thanks, Alan. How do you get such a clean feed with your videos and live stream? Export settings for videos and settings for live stream. So, I mean, the settings for live stream is just whatever's coming off of my Atem Mini. And I'm using, the software I use is in the description. It's Ecamm Live. This is right now you're watching me on A7 IV with a 35mm lens. So having a good data rate is important, but it shouldn't be too difficult. Are you talking about the clean feed, like not glitchy or anything like that? That's gonna be your speeds and, you know, your whatever software you're using. So OBS, I know I had some little hiccups there back in the old days. I'm sure it's more stable now, but that's kind of the deal. I've not tried the XH2S, so can't really answer that question there for you. Good. Got your LUTs. Nice, thanks. Cool. How can I use manual focus on a gimbal? Any follow focus recommendations for the gimbal? Tilta has a bunch of stuff. Small Rig has something I want to check out. They have kind of a new wireless focus system, but those are all pretty good. I would say Tilta right now, I've used it a ton. It's really rock solid stuff. Will gray color gel filter sheets that are meant for big lights also work to reduce extra light coming in through windows? Absolutely. 100% Ali. You can actually buy, just look for ND gel, or they also call it window ND. You can buy big sheets of the stuff, put it over windows. Another thing you could experiment with is nets. Nets are a great way to knock down window light. And what's cool about those is they don't reflect. I don't have any gels. Well, let's just pretend this is a white gel. See how there's a white reflection from this light? the gels are going to do the same thing. When light hits them at the right angle, it's going to look wavy and crazy. Nets don't do that. So essentially they're screens you're putting in front. Westcott and several other companies make big nets, but that's a really great way because it's matte. It's not going to reflect light like a gel would. But otherwise, yes, you can totally use ND gels on Windows. Film Tools is a great website for bulk stuff like that. B&H may have it as well. Great question. Best LED bicolor light on a budget, non-light panel. Okay, so if you're not going with a panel, I'm gonna say probably the Amaran 200X is what I would go with. That'd be a great budget, bright bicolor light. That is not a panel, since that's your stipulation there. Hey, you mentioned that you were going to show us your setup for teleprompter on steroids. Awaiting the clip demonstration. Thank you in advance. So, oh, interesting. I've done a video. If you search YouTube or my channel for teleprompter or filming yourself with a teleprompter, then you'll find that video, and I go into depth with all that stuff. Do you recommend Axon or Helpline wireless transmitters? Funny you should mention that. I haven't done a video on it yet, but I'm doing another rigging video and really digging the new Helpline stuff. So right now I'm messing with this, which is their 4K. You can get a transmitter or receiver separately, and this monitor, which is I'm going to use for an upcoming rig build. This is the M1, Mars M1. It can transmit or receive, and it works with these transmitters. So you can put this thing on your camera and transmit to another bigger monitor, or do something like this and have someone else with the monitor. You can mix and match, super flexible. And this setup, like the latency is crazy low. So this is the first, wireless system I've messed with outside of some more pro stuff in a while. So right now, Helpline, but I haven't tested everything that's out there. Great question, a Spruce Goose. All right, we're gonna go for a couple more minutes here. Has Sony improved their colors on the Sony a7 R4? I have not played with that camera, so I can't really tell you. If it has 10-bit in the camera, you're good though. So that's the deal. That's the big thing with Sony. If it doesn't have 10-bit, walk away if possible. Do you have any channel recommendations for learning color grading? I use DaVinci Resolve. So, what's his name, guys? I bet I can find him for you. Let's, because it's amazing. Let's see. Let's do this. I'm gonna go over here. YouTube. Resolve skin tones. I bet that'll bring up his video. Peck something. Yeah, Avery Peck. This dude right here. Avery Peck. Definitely check out his channel. Really, really good stuff. Let's see. It's been a year since he's posted, but I would probably start there, and I'm sure people in the comments have additional recommendations. So if you guys know of anyone on YouTube, that'd be a good channel to check out. Let Hector know here. Okay, Nick. Your input in this field has been really fruitful. Thank you. Cheaper alternative to the MixPre 3 for my internal rig. I have the H4n, but that's my next upgrade. So if you're talking about on your rig itself, cheaper alternative. So if you need if you don't need a recorder, you just need a good preamp, the Beach Tech DXA Micro Pro, I would check that out. Small, great preamps. If you need a recorder, I mean the Zoom H2. Zoom makes like a smaller, is it F2, F6, F4? One of those smaller recorders. I think it has 2 inputs and it does 32-bit. If you don't care about, if you just need one microphone recorded, that F2, I don't have it on my desk right now, is awesome. That little tiny F2, Zoom F2. It's essentially a, like you would put it in someone's pocket. Here, let's do this. Oh, come on. Let's go here. This guy. Whoop, Sorry about the blinking. No idea why that's blinking. Yikes. Well, that's not working. Zoom F2, it's a tiny, tiny little recorder. You could, clip that or tape that to your rig, and there you have 32-bit for a couple $100. All right. How's the power zoom rocker on the FX6? I haven't used that. Man, I think it's pretty good. Yeah, it's got the top handle one too, so that's really nice. So you should be fine to use that. Do moving blankets cut the outside noise? Have you tried that? Barely. It's really not going to cut out noise. These producer choice sound blankets that I've talked about a ton on the channel is your cheapest, best move. But moving blankets are really, really thin, so I don't think that's going to do much. When filming a low light event, bar club, is it better to over or underexpose? Do tests, but I have found overexposing pretty much universally helps. So do test for yourself. But yeah, fast lenses and overexposing 100% helps in my testing for myself. Ah, yes, Ripple training. Oh, cool. So they do DaVinci Resolve as well. Love Ripple training. They're great. All right. Oh, looks like I missed some super chats. So let's scroll down here. Oh, boy, do I need new glasses? Good grief. Mr. Frank, super chat, $10. Thanks for all of your camera reviews, Caleb. Thank you, sir, for watching and for the donation. And then this feller or lady, good grief, $50 donation from Lenad Visual Creative Group. Just bought a Pocket Cinema camera, 4K. Can't seem to shake this green tint. Understand the tinting feature in the camera, especially using the in-monitor conversion LUT that I also edit with. Okay, so definitely do some tests. Get a bunch of color charts, sit down and do custom white balance. I know when you set the camera to, or it used to be this way, I haven't tried the camera in a while, when it's stock defaults to a certain tint. You want to double check that. And if possible, use Blackmagic's LUTs. That's a huge thing. Make sure the camera is updated because they have their newer color science. Make sure you're using the current version of Resolve. And if you're not using Resolve, let me know. But the tint, there's each of their cameras will throw a certain tint at it because for whatever reason, to get it to white, by default, it'll have a slight tint on either side. But you can't shake the green tint. So what you would want to do, if you're constantly green and no matter what you do, everything's green, go into your white balance and take that green and go magenta with it. So you can adjust the tint independent from the color temperature, which is fantastic. So you're probably going to want to go in and again, do some tests. Find something that's truly neutral gray, like a gray card or something. I don't have one on my desk here. That's really going to help dial that in. So once you, on a vector scope, get it to center, and if you don't know what a vector scope is, search my channel. There's a whole video on that. That'll help you dial in, and eventually, hopefully, you'll find, okay, if I set my tint to negative or positive, depending on which way is magenta, 8, then I'm good to go. And then you'll have kind of the recipe for a good tint on your Pocket 4K, because every camera is a little different. So definitely do some tests. Sit down with a vector scope on your computer. That's how you're going to be able to figure that stuff out. And you could also alter your LUT a little bit. Throw your LUT on the footage in Resolve, mix the adjustments that you need to make, and then re-export your own LUT using Resolve, which you can look that up, how to make your own LUTs. And that's how I would go about dealing with, tint issues. But if you're always green, that's actually a good sign because you can shift it and it'll always be less green. It's when things are inconsistent, that's when it gets gnarly. So thank you so much for the donation. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end this stream. I'm going to drop a link to where I'm headed right after this. So youtube.com/thec47. In 9 minutes, we're going live with our favorite gear of 2022. This is probably, there's a good chance this is the last stream of the year. I might sneak one more in, but if that is the case, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful end of your year. Happy holidays. I hope you had a great year and really looking forward to what's coming up in 2023. For those of you who have commented, thank you so much. Great comments tonight. Really appreciate all of the support, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you in the next video or live stream.